If you're watching this, I'm guessing you want to get through the raid or Circle of Slaughter with minimal struggle. And of course, kill Wotan and get all of the new Mayhem 4 loot. Well, in this video, I'll show you how to do it. Amara becomes a speed demon killing machine. I call this build Pinball Effects. It is a phase grass build I have crafted for Mayhem 4 post-patch. This build is made for mobs, not single targets. If you're looking for an all-around phase grass build, I'll link my other build in the description below. What's up, Vault Hunters? It's Echo here, and I can't wait to show you this build. I call it Pinball Effects. I normally don't make gear-dependent builds, but this one you will need some gear pieces. So with that being said, I want to start with the gear first. The most important thing you'll need for this build is the gun called the Recursion. This gun can be found by farming General Trant located on Desolation's Edge. It shoots a ricochet disc that bounces off enemies, dealing a substantial amount of damage to multiple enemies at once, making it perfect for the raid or Circle of Slaughter. The Recursion is really only optimized when there are a horde of enemies. So when there is a single or loose end enemy, pull out your Maggie and just finish them off. The other guns I like to keep handy are the Maggie for obviously finishing off loose end enemies, and the Corrosive Cutsman for damaging bosses in the raid. You can also bring the Fire Cutsman if you'd like. Next, for my shield I use a Transformer, and for my nade I use its Piss. But the important part of the shield and nade are the anointments. What you want on your shield or nade is a combination of 50% bonus shock or corrosive with weapons for 10 seconds after action skill end. Don't worry if you can't get legendary shield or nade at first. I started off with purple shields and nades, and I just made sure I had those anointments. So don't think you need them to be legendary. You're just looking for that bonus damage. Just keep farming and you'll get the gear you want. Next, the other must-have gear piece is Amara's class mod, the Driver. How this mod works is, upon using your action skill, Amara applies her action skill element to herself. For example, my action skill is Shock, so the damage procced will be Shock. Also, Amara gains gun damage while moving. The quicker you move, the greater the gun damage bonus. We will go over some skills that will be useful in gaining speed. Lastly, the artifact you want to use is the Elemental Projector. This pairs well with the Driver. How it works is, if you suffer from an elemental effect, you increase your damage with the same element. So, if you are using a fire weapon, set your action skill to fire and you will receive a 90% damage boost with incendiary if you're affected with fire. Let's keep things rolling with the skill trees. We are going to start with the phase grass tree or red tree. Now, even though we are using the action skill phase grasp, we're not actually going to be using it on enemies. We are simply going to use it to proc our skills. With that being said, let's get into it. The first perk we are going to max out is Anima. Anima is going to give us an increase in elemental effect damage. Then we'll be maxing out Steady Hands. This gives us handling and accuracy. Next, I put 3 points into Infusion. This converts a portion of damage dealt by our weapons into our action skill element. For instance, if my weapon is fire and my action skill element is shock, and you are fighting a shield and flesh guy, this will allow you to do damage to shields and flesh without switching guns. In this example, you can see the shock and fire damage numbers. Next, we're going to max out Tempest. This is going to further increase our elemental damage, and shock damage is increased by 20%. I put a point into Deep Well. This increases your mag with elemental weapons by 20%. Then I maxed out Indiscriminate. With this perk, Amara's bullets that damage enemies have a chance to ricochet. And with the gun that we are using, the Recursion, already ricochets, so this makes it even better. Even though they nerfed this perk, it still works. Next, max out Sustainment. This grants Amara lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage with her weapon. And this brings us to our capstone of the red tree, Forceful Expression. Amara's gun deals bonus elemental damage based on her action skill element. Moving on to the blue tree, the only skill we maxed out here is fast hands. I personally love the reload mode and swap speed. That's why we put points in here. Moving on to our green tree, we maxed out personal space, granting us bonus damage the closer we are to our enemy. I then put 3 points into Root to Rise. This gives us increased max health. I maxed out Arms Deal, which gives us increased splash damage and splash damage reduction. Maxed out Helping Hands, which gives us even more damage reduction. And finally, we maxed out Mindfulness. This is where we get our stacks of speed from. Whenever Amara takes damage, she gains a stack. For every stack, we gain improved shield regeneration delay and movement speed. These stacks decay after a few seconds, and the max stacks are 25. Even though your action skill doesn't matter, what we have equipped is Ties That Bind, Allure, and for the raid, I kept my action skill element as Shock. All of the gear, guns, and skills go together. Let me show you in this example of the beginning of the raid. First, you see me grasping the floor. This is to stack Mindfulness, and if you remember, Mindfulness gives us speed upon receiving damage. Mindfulness paired with the Driver class mod gives Amara gun damage the faster she moves. Then, when using the Recursion and the skill Indiscriminate, makes for a deadly ricochet combo. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you'd like to see a full walkthrough of the raid using this build Pinball effect, be sure to subscribe because it'll be my next video out.